Okay. Are you able to see the screen, students? Screen is visible. Students, screen is visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So it started with the PLC, right? Where we defined the PLC as the one which is used industrially. It's a controller which is used industrially, right? That is how we defined the PLC at the beginning. Okay, it is just as good as a computer, but it is used industrially for different controlling operations. Then later on, we took up a control problem, the stirring of the liquid in a container. Okay, the stirring of the liquid in a container, right? And this setup wherein this motor was turned on when the pressure switch and the temperature switch when they came to their set point values. Okay, the pressure switch and the temperature switch when they came to the set point values, that time the motor turned on and there was a stirring of the liquid. And note that the stirring of the liquid was also possible when the push button was operated. Okay, push button was operated, the motor was turned on, and that also leads to stirring of the liquid in the container. Okay, this was our process control problem. And for this process control problem, we have drawn the relay diagram. So this is our pressure switch and the temperature switch. When they reach their set point value, the motor will be turned on, or the motor coil will be turned on, energized. Okay, then for the push button that is operated, the manual push button, when it is operated, that time also the motor will be turning on. Okay, these are the two conditions. Either the motor is turned on when pressure and temperature switch are closed, that is they reach their set point values, or when the push button is operated. Okay, this is how we are drawing the relay ladder diagram. The same thing is represented in the form of a, that is, ladder rung diagram. Same thing. Here we are using wiring connection for input module, wiring connection for the input module. Okay, where they are connected with the different sensors, pressure sensor, switches, temperature switch, then manual push button, then the line voltage, which are connected to the input module here, to the various terminals of the input module. Okay, so these input module terminals may be many number. There may be 4 or 8 or 12 or 16 like that. They may be larger in number also. We have seen that. Okay, then later on we were discussing about the scan process, what happens. That is also we are discussing in detail, that I'm going to take up next in the next class. What is meant by program scan, we just defined it a little bit. The definition of that program scan is we are sensing the inputs. After sensing the inputs, the data, whatever the input status is there, it is stored in the memory, and that is processed. On that, the program, whatever is stored by the user, that performs the operation on that input data. And after performing the operation on that input data, then the output is provided. The program provides the output. That output is going to control the field device. This is what is called as one program scan or the program scan cycle. Okay, this is for the output module. Similarly, as for the input module, the output module is connected. These are the various output terminals to which the output field device is connected. Here the motor is connected. Okay, typical wiring connections for a 120 volt AC modular configured output module. Fine. Principles of operation, continuation with that, we have seen what is real-time operation. That is, real-time is whenever any event is taking place in the field. Okay, I give the example of the say when the operation is being taking place, if the monitoring is also happening, or if you want to change any devices, input and output devices, right, online. Okay, when it is taking the operation is being performed. Okay, that is also possible, and it is possible to monitor the different parameters online, right, on the whatever processes are being controlled on the field, they are being monitored on the panel. Okay, on the display, right, how much is the variable, how much is the voltage is obtained, Okay, how much is the pressure, how much is the temperature in terms of voltage, and how much it has to be controlled, right? And what is the set point value that has to be set, so that when that is reached, it has to cut off. It has to cut off. It has to stop the operation, or it has to maintain that consistency, maintain that operation constant. Okay, so all this is called as the real time operation, real time event. This is process control PLC ladder logic diagram. Relay diagram is replaced by the rung diagram. These are called as ladder rung. So it is represented like this. Okay, this is called as true condition or the closed condition. Okay, then these are the input switches. There is a pressure switch, temperature switch, and the push button. Then we have at the output side the motor that is going to energize the output motor or the output coil. Okay, that is monitor the inputs, execute the program, and change the outputs. That is the program scan. We have considered a point where the logic 1 is considered as on condition. It is the on status, right? It is the on status. Then logic 0 is considered as the off status, off condition. There are only two states, either on or off. On means one state, 0 means off state. Okay, so the switch can be either in closed contact, it can be closed, okay, or it may be open, it can be open. Okay, one or 0. One means closed condition, 0 means open condition. This is particularly for the Allen Bradley Pico controller, where it is connected with in this fashion, the ladder rung diagram. Okay, these are showing the inputs here. We have the outputs, everything in the same module. Okay, everything is there in the same module. Inputs, outputs, then the ladder rung is shown on the display. Okay, all are there in the same module. It is fixed type of PLC. Then later the process was slightly modified. The modification in the process is, instead of connecting the manual push button across pressure and temperature switch, it was connected across only the pressure switch. This change results in slight variations in the process control operation. The change is, pressure switch when it is closed and when the temperature switch is closed, the motor is energized, or when the manual push button is closed and the temperature switch is closed, the motor is energized. Okay, these are the two options, two possibilities. That is the modification in the process control problem. Then we have seen the comparison between PLCs and computers. PLC is industrially oriented, whereas computers for normal operation. In PLCs, we use the languages such as a ladder rung diagram, or it may be functional block diagram or charts. Okay, but usually in computer language, we use the high level languages such as C or C++ or Java and such other languages. PLC is not affected by the electrical noise present, whereas the computers may get affected by the electrical noise environments if they are used in the industries in the same environment. Then PLC is programmed by the relay ladder logic program. That is the point I have highlighted. PLC does not have permanently attached keyboard or CD drive or monitor, whereas computers, they come along with everything assembled. Okay, we have the CD drive, the keyboard, monitor, everything comes assembled. PLC executes single program in sequential fashion. PLC executes single program in sequential fashion from first to last instruction. First executes first instruction, second instruction, and so on up till last instruction. Whereas the computers, they execute the instructions in parallel. Okay, the programs are being executed in parallel in the computer. Several programs can be executed in parallel simultaneously by the computer. So I have given the example of the functions. Okay, functions and the main program. Okay, everything, all instructions getting executed at the same time.
Sir, what do you mean by electrical noise?
Electrical noise, it is the unwanted noise, right? That's what I give the example of. Suppose say there are two wires, right? There are two wires which are in parallel. One is your main wire, another is the wire which is nearer to that. Okay, suppose if this is your main wire, okay, there's one more wire nearer to that. Okay, now we are interested in the main wire, in the main circuit, right? There is some nearby wire because of which the current is also flowing in that, some current, some small amount of current is flowing in that, and that is causing the magnetic effect. We know that when the current flows through the conductor, there is magnetic field around the conductor. We have studied that in our first year level in basic electrical. Then that magnetic effect or that magnetic field is going to interfere with the main circuit, is going to interfere with the main circuit. Okay, when it interferes with the main circuit, because of the magnetic field effect, what will happen? There will be some noise signal or some current which is flowing due to that magnetic field, which is affecting the main circuit. Okay, that is called as our electromagnetic interferences or noise signals. And so these are the noise signals which are present in our that is in our PLC subject, electromagnetic noise signals. I give the example of two circuits. Okay, the two circuits should have the same grounding connection. The two circuits should have the same grounding connection. Okay, if the grounding is different, the ground for this point and this point are different, then that will cause the again some noise signal. Some leakage current is made to flow. Okay, because of the difference in the ground connection between the 2 points. Okay, so that is how they are causing the noise signals. I hope it is clear to you. Yes, please.
Yes,
My
sir.
point is clear. Okay, fine. Input or output modules for connecting the field devices are easily connected and replaced, whereas in the computers, the field devices, connecting the field devices is very difficult. It is complex. Okay, because the PLCs are designed in such a way that we can easily connect the input modules or the output modules. We can replace them, but the computers are not being manufactured in such a way so that we can connect the modules to the computers. Okay, it is complex process of connecting the modules to the computers. Then regarding the size and applications, we have seen the different criteria for choosing the PLCs. It may be based on their functions, or it may be based on their input output, the number of inputs, outputs, cost. Okay, then it may be on their physical size. Among all these, the input output count is the most important factor. Input output count, because that is how where we are applying the input. Okay, then the input status is processed, and we are getting the output. Okay, so it decides the important, is one of the important thing which decides the process, and hence the IO count is the most important factor. There are different types of PLCs: nano PLCs, micro PLCs, based on these inputs and outputs points or the terminals. We have medium type PLCs, large type PLCs. Okay, there are three major types of PLC applications: single-ended or multitasking or control management application. Single-ended means it is standalone application. It includes one PLC controlling only one process. Okay, in multitask, one PLC controlling many processes. Okay, and in control management application, one PLC controlling many other PLCs. These are the three types of PLC applications: single-ended, multitask, and control management. And few of the factors which affect the memory size. The size of the memory which is used to store the data and the program, that is affected by the, or it is decided by the number of input output points. The number of input output points are more, then the memory required is also more. If the input output points is less, the memory required is also less. The size of the program, that decides the memory size. Okay, the processes whatever you are controlling, the complexity of those processes, that also decides the size of the memory. Okay, so these are few of the factors which decide the size of the memory. Then we have seen these instructions, typical PLC instructions: XIC, examine on, examine a bit for an on condition. Okay, XIO, that is it checks for the off condition of the switch or the input and output devices. Okay, these different instructions of the PLC which is used for writing the PLC programs. PLC hardware components, input output section to which the field devices are connected, and we have particularly seen the, that is discussed about the rack based IO section, wherein the input output, that section or the module is divided in the form of a rack arrangement. Here it is divided in the form of a rack arrangement, and we have the slots. It is as good as the placing the books on the shelf of your rack. Okay, there's a rack arrangement, you are placing your books, right, one above the other. One rack you place one set of books, and in the second rack you place second set of books, like that. Okay, that is called as the rack based IO section. The output section, it controls the output modules or the output field devices. The status information is collected by the processor or the CPU about the input devices and the output devices, and it is storing in the memory. Based on this status of the input, it is providing the output. Allen Bradley controllers, we are seeing in the next figure. This is particularly related to Allen Bradley PLC chassis and rack arrangement. There are about 128 input output racks, and we have 8 slot chassis. The number of slots may differ. It may be 4 slot or 8 or 12 or 16 slots in one rack, and the number of input output points may also be different. It may be around 128 input points or 128 output points. Then later we have seen what is meant by the memory. I gave the example of the postman reaching your home with the help of the address and the pin code, what all information or details you are mentioning on your, that is letter. Okay, I have given the example of that. That is how memory locations are, which store the data or the information. This is a format in which the IO sections use the data, or they are meant to store the information or the status. Okay, for example, IA1 means it is input file 1, I1 file 1, then 2 means rack 2, group 7, then bit number 17. This is some format that is being used by the PLCs to address the, or to store the status of the input and output devices, field devices status. Fine. Then later on, the different input and output devices, it may be indicator lights or signaling column, relays, okay, motor starter arrangement for power control, okay, or for starting of the motors, which is used, push buttons, selector switch, limit switch, okay, and proximity switches, which is based on the distance. That is based on the distance it operates, and it based on the distance parameter, it controls the on and off of the different devices. And this is the figure where we have discussed about power supply, how it flows from the power supply module to the backplane, where there are connectors, different connectors. These are different slots or the connectors. From the connector, it reaches to your IO modules. This is how the power supply is transmitted from the power supply block of the PLC to the backplane connectors, from the backplane connectors to the IO modules. Then this is one important topic where we have discussed about how the analog input module is connected, or what is the block diagram of the discrete AC input module, where we are applying the input signal. Bridge rectifier converts from AC to DC. Zener diode detects the level. Then optical isolation, optoelectrical isolation, that is, it provides the isolation in terms of light between the input section and the output section. Okay, that we are seeing in the next figure. And this is a logic circuit which indicates, or which processes the status of the LED. If the input switch is closed, then this LED is on. The input switch is open, the LED is in off state. Then it is given to the processor. That is the next block: input, processor, output. Which are the three main parts here in the PLC? Input section, processor section, and the output section. These are the three main sections: input section, processor section, and the output section. Next is a simplified diagram of the single input discrete AC input module. We have a fuse push button, then connected to the module strip. Then this is a filter arrangement, okay, which eliminates the noise signals present in the input signal. The bridge rectifier, it converts AC to DC. The Zener diode detects the level, it measures the voltage. And this optical isolator, the light energy, electrical energy is connected to light energy falls on this transistor. It is a photo transistor which converts the light energy into electrical energy, and based on this electrical energy, the LED is in on state or the off state. It's simple. This is how this figure functions. Okay. Later on, the similar point we discussed with respect to the output modules also. Output modules, it also has a two sections. One is the logic section, another one is the power section. Then input we are applying to the logic circuits. There is a status indication of the output device. So when it will be on, when this LED will be on, then when this LED turns on, then the it means that we are applying the signal. Okay, here from the processor we are applying the signal, because the processor will process the input status, and based on the program that is being written, PLC program is going to provide some output, correct, and that output is going to control this logic circuit, and the status LED turns on. Then from there it is applied to the optical isolation circuit, optoelectrical isolator, where it is providing the light energy on the transistor. Then the transistor makes a conduction, okay, and based on that conduction, the load is turned on, or the output device is turned on, the field device is turned on. Okay, that means when the signal is present here, input signal, the LED is turned on and the load device is also turned on, or the output field device is turned on. And the simplified diagram of this output module, DC output module, the same thing. There is a processor signal, there is a LED which turns on, then the optical isolation circuit, light energy falls on the phototransistor, which converts from light energy to electrical energy. This track is a bidirectional switch, can conduct in this way also. From L1 to L2, the AC signal is applied. Okay, so the positive portion is applied here through anode to cathode. Then when negative portion is applied through cathode to anode also, it flows through L2, from L1 to L2. That means it is meant for AC load devices. The track switch is used to activate or used to control the load devices which are of alternating type, alternating current type, okay, AC signal type. Same explanation in terms of points. Then a little bit about analog to digital converter. Analog to digital converter is a module which converts the analog signal into digital signal. Digital to analog converter is a module or the block which converts, or it is a IC, it is a component which converts the digital signal into analog signal. This is a application where we are controlling the level of the, or we are measuring the level of the liquid in the tank, in the container. The liquid level is converted from the level to the voltage by the transmitter. It applies to the analog input module. Analog input module converts this voltage into suitable voltage using the ADC to digital signal, and digital signal is applied to the PLC processor. Processor will process the information based on the program that is being written, ladder program, okay, according to the user requirement, and then it will provide some output. That output is again converted from digital to analog, and it is applied to the analog output module. Okay, then analog output module will indicate the status on the level indicator, which will measure how much is the level of the liquid in the tank. That is being measured by this level indicator. Fine, students. Some of the physical quantities that are measured by the PLC are speed, flow, weight, temperature, pressure, position. Okay, these are some of the physical quantities or the analog quantities measured by the PLC. Then I have given the example of a thermocouple. Thermocouple is a nothing but when we connect two metallic contacts. two metals, two metallic wires at two junctions. Okay, you are studied in your PUC level, in your PU level, right? And when we maintain the two junctions at two different temperatures, voltage or the current will be flowing in the circuit, and this is called as a Seebeck effect. Okay, this voltage is measured by the PLC. Small voltage is applied to the input section of the PLC, and then it is able to measure this thermocouple voltage. And in analog input modules, there are two types: unipolar modules, where the module or the analog unipolar module is used to measure only single direction voltages, that is from 0 to 10 volts, okay, or 0 to 110 volts, like that. Whereas if we consider bipolar modules, analog modules, then they are used to measure the both the directions, that is negative voltages also and positive voltages also, say from minus 10 volts to plus 10 volts, okay, or from minus say 15 volts to plus 15 volts, okay, like that. So these voltages are called as bipolar signals or the bipolar modules, analog input modules, for measuring the voltages which are in both the directions, which is both negative voltages as well as positive voltages. Resolution is the smallest change in the input signal that can be sensed or detected by the PLC. Okay, such an small change in the input signal which can be detected, that is called as the resolution. Then we have seen this sensor supplied to the power supply. Here we have the power supply is applied to the sensor. Okay, then here the power supply is applied to the module. Okay, so when we are applying the power supply here, there is a feedback loop that is established from input to the output. Okay, then from output back to the input. When the difference between input and the feedback signal, what we are getting from the input, that difference will try to increase the accuracy of the output. Okay, it will try to minimize the noise level, and the accuracy of the output is increased by this feedback section, by the feedback loop. It is called as closed loop section or the closed loop controlling mechanism. Okay, similarly in the second figure also, the change is that here we are applying the power supply to the sensor, and here we are applying the power supply to the module or the input module strip. That is the only difference. The same example of the liquid level, and this is where we are explaining about the feedback control or the closed loop control. That is, the level of the PLC is being measured by this level sensor. Sorry, level of the liquid in the tank is measured by the level sensor. The analog voltage, that is the level, is converted into analog voltage signal, electrical signal, that is applied to the PLC. And this PLC, what it will do, students, it will process that input signal and it will provide the analog output voltage. Then based on how much percentage this valve is open, okay, initially it is open 100%, the liquid is flowing full. Okay, now if you want to control it to a certain level, preset level or set point level, then we have to adjust the position of this control valve. Then this position of the control valve is controlled by this analog output voltage. This analog output voltage controls the position of this control valve, and based on that, what it will do, the level, the input liquid that is flowing into the tank, that will be changing accordingly to the opening or closing of the control valve. And that is how we are able to control the level of the liquid or the height of the liquid level in the tank. Okay, this is called as the one feedback loop or the closed loop section from input to the PLC. That is, we are getting some output from the PLC, and that output again we are feeding back to the input. Okay, then IO modules, we have different types: high speed counter modules, okay, which are used to count the number of pulses from the sensors. Thumb switches, which are used to indicate certain information on the, they are used to indicate the numbers or the, say, how much is being sensed, that is indicated in terms of numbers on the input on the that is, say, on the module. They are called as thumb modules. Then we have TTL module. TTL module, based on the TTL signals, so 0 to 0.8 volts is treated as low signal. Okay, 2.2 to 5 volts is treated as high signal. This is called as TTL signal. In electronics, it is called as TTL signal. Okay, that is 0 to 0.8 volts is low, 2.2 to 5 volts is treated as high or the status 1. Okay, using such signals the transmission takes place or the communication takes place. Encoder counter module, I have given the example of the optical encoder light falling on the rotating disc. Wherever there are slots, you are getting the light on the other end, and based on that you are able to measure the speed of the rotating disc. Basic or ASCII module, which makes use of the programming languages such as basic language or C language or some other PLC programming languages to provide the required input and the output. Stepper motor modules, okay, which takes the pulses from the through the stepper motor module, and it is able to control the rotation of the stepper motor based on the applied input pulses. BCD output module to operate the displays such as 7 segmental displays. I have given the example wherein they are being used in the malls, okay, big bazaars and other areas. PID module, proportional integrated derivative module, which is the output is proportional to the input, also it is derivative to the input, and the output is also integration of the input. Hence it is called as proportional integral derivative module. This is making use of the some algorithms or the say some programs which with the help of which it is able to control the process. The PID module is mainly meant to control the process controlling. Motion and position control modules, communication modules, which is with the help of which we are able to communicate from one point to another point. Communication modules, exchange of data takes place. Then the IO specifications, where we have discussed about different specifications: nominal input voltage, okay, and then there are various IO specifications. Threshold voltage is the minimum voltage, how much we are applying. Okay, nominal current per input, ambient temperature rating, the surrounding temperature conditions, so that the PLC can operate properly without anything without getting affected anything. Input on or off delay, output voltage, okay, then output current, that is the maximum continuous current or maximum load current, how much current that a single output and the module as a whole can safely carry under load. Okay, when the load is being connected, how much the PLC module can carry the current output, that is safely carry the load current. Okay, how much without that load current, if it is more, then that is going to affect the module. Okay, so it has to be safely carried. That is called as the output current or the maximum load current. Inrush current, immediate increase in the current because of low impedance, low resistance. I taken the that is discussed by considering the Ohm's law there. That is I is equal to V by R, and if the resistance is less, there is immediate surge in the current or inrush, sudden increase in the current. Okay, that may happen sometimes. Then short circuit protection, that is being provided by the fuse. Fuse, we know that it's an element which is made up of metals such as nickel, chromium, or alloy of certain metals, right, or copper metal, right, and this fuse is providing the protection to the other part of the circuit. When there is excess current, the fuse will blow out, the fuse wire will get burnt out, and it provides there is a circuit, there will be no circuit between the input and the output, and hence that is providing the protection to the other part of the circuit will not be complete because of the burning out of the fuse, or there is an open circuit, and thus it provides protection to the other part of the circuit. Leakage current, I have given the example just now of the electromagnetic noise. Electrical isolation, that is optical electrical isolation, points per module. When we consider the discrete modules, we will be discussing that there are number of points per module. Input, we have 8 points, 16 terminals, 32 terminals. Okay, but when we consider the analog modules, there we are consider the number of channels, both mean one and the same. Back in current draw. Then coming to the analog IO module specifications, channels per module, that's what I told. Here in discrete modules, we consider what is called as a points per module, number of terminals, input terminals, or the number of output terminals. But when it comes to the analog IO modules, we mention them as channels. How many channels are there? Both are one and the same. There may be 4 or 8 or 16 channels. Okay, then like that. Okay, the number of channels will vary. Input current or voltage range, output current or voltage range, input protection, again the same thing using the fuse arrangement. Resolution we have already defined. Input impedance and capacitance. Input impedance is how much is the resistance between the input terminal and the ground. Input capacitance is how much is the capacitance between the input terminal and the ground. Common mode rejection is the noise signal which will be eliminated if we are connecting the differential input signal. That is, if we are connecting positive and negative both input channels, okay, input signals, then because of the noise which is present in positive and negative, so suppose say the noise is plus 5 millivolts in the positive, and if it is minus 5 millivolts in the negative channel of the input, then both will get cancelled out. Plus 5 millivolts minus 5 millivolts will get cancelled out. That is what we are calling as differential signaling. Differential signaling. This noise will be eliminated. That is called as common mode rejection. And, later on, one of the important block, that is central processing unit. I hope I am reaching you all, students. Yes, students.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Then the CPU, which is one of the most important block of the PLCs. We already know what is a CPU. Okay, the CPU module, power supply, what it does, how it is connected. Okay, we already discussed the CPU, which is one of the important sections. It makes a decision based on the program that is stored by the user. It is a decision taking block. The CPU executes the operating system, manages the memory, monitors inputs, evaluates the ladder program, and turns on the appropriate outputs. These are few of the functions performed by the central processing unit, the CPU block of the PLC. Then later on, I also explained if there are more than one processors in a single PLC, that will increase the speed of operation. I have given the example of quad processor, your cell phones, octa processors, your laptops, okay, wherein more than one processors if they are used, then the speed of the operation will be enhanced, it will be increased. The other functions of the processor or the CPU are to perform the timing operation, counting, latching, that is storing the data, comparing one data with another data, motion control operation, and complex mathematical operations. These are the other functions performed by the processor. What is the memory? Memory is an element which stores certain information. It stores either the data or the programs. Okay. Data, when we are storing in the memory, it is called as writing process. If we are reading the data from the memory, it is called as reading process. If we are storing the data into the memory, it's called as writing the data into the memory. If you are reading, fetching the data, retrieving the data from the memory, it is called as reading process. This is where we have discussed regarding the different PLC memory sizes. Then memory utilization is defined as number of memory locations required to store each type of instruction. How many memory locations are needed to store one instruction? That is called as memory utilization. Definition of memory utilization. Then one contact is for 1 bit of memory. If it is storing 1 bit of memory, that refers to one contact or one coil or one switch. Okay. This is the image table, input image table, wherein the closed condition is indicated by 1 stored in the input image table, processor memory. Then the open switch is indicated by a 0. Similarly, for the output module, 1 is indicated by, or the on of the LED, turning on the LED is indicated by 1 stored here, and the off state of the LED is not glowing, it is off state, that is indicated by storing a 0 in the processor memory output image table. This is the memory design, how the memory is designed in PLCs. Various types of memory: volatile memory and non-volatile memory. Volatile memory is the one in which the data stored will be vanished, or it will be deleted, okay, or it will be lost whenever there is power supply loss. Whenever the power supply is turned off, if the data is lost in the memory, then such type of memory are called volatile memory. Even after the power supply is turned on off, even after the power supply is turned off, if the data is retained, if it is not lost, then such type of memory are called as non-volatile memory.
So RAM and ROM is it, no?
RAM is, yes please, RAM is
Volatile memory.
RAM is volatile, yes, RAM is volatile, correct. ROM is non-volatile. Then later on we looked into different memories. ROM memory, okay, is used to store the programs usually, and the data, some data is non-volatile. Then it is used to store the operating system, used by the PLC for the operating system. It is, operating system is downloaded into the ROM memory. RAM memory, it is read-write memory, we can read the data and also we can write, whereas ROM memory we can only read the data. RAM memory is volatile memory, where we can read the data and also write the data, and it requires the backup power supply. Backup battery is required, or the backup power supply is required, because whenever there is any turning off of the power supply accidentally or intentionally, then what will happen? The data may get lost. The data will get lost, and hence the backup is needed. Backup power supply or the backup battery is required for the RAM memory. Erasable programmable read-only memory. Here what is done is, using the some phenomena such as using the ultraviolet light, the data may be erased which is stored in the memory. So such type of the memory, ROM memory, are called as erasable programmable read-only memory. Erasable means we can erase the data which is stored in ROM memory by the help of certain mechanisms, certain specialized mechanisms, such as by using the ultraviolet light to fall on the chip, fall on that memory. Okay. Electrically erasable programmable read-only memory. It is also a non-volatile memory. Then here this is a permanent storage of the programs, and it can be changed using only standard programming devices. We have to use certain standard programming devices by the help of which only we can change the data which is stored in the EEPROM memory. This EEPROM memory is used as a backup memory for the RAM memory. This figure clearly indicates that. Then later on we have seen the flash memory. Okay, flash memory is the fastest among all the memory. It is used for fast reading and fast writing of the data into the memory of the PLCs. Okay, and it is also non-volatile. PLCs make use of flash memory. It is non-volatile. It is having the highest speed, and hence the PLCs are employing flash memory type of memories. Programming terminal devices, where we can enter the data, enter the program, or modify and troubleshoot the PLC program. The devices which are used for entering the programs, modifying the programs, changing the programs, or troubleshooting the PLC program. Such devices are called terminal devices or programming terminal devices. That is shown here. Handheld. This is handheld programming terminal device. Using this, you can change the program or the data program which is being stored in the PLC. It's a display here. You can display all the data whatever is needed on this LCD display screen. Then one more type of terminal device is using the computers or the laptops, and using certain software we can store whatever program is required in the PLC by downloading the program from the laptop or the computer into the PLC, or sending the program from laptop or computer into the PLC memory. Okay. recording and retrieving the data, where we can record the ladder rung program, entire ladder rung program, which is not possible usually with the handheld terminal devices or programming terminal devices, but it is possible definitely to take the printout of the entire program, entire ladder rung instructions. Okay, that is possible with the printers. A permanent record can be taken. A PLC can store only one program in memory at a time. This is important. A PLC can store only one program in memory at one particular point of time. This is where we are copying the program from the that is disk drive to the hard drive. Disk drive is your CD or whatever it is, floppy disk or whatever it is. From there we are copying it into the hard drive of your computer, okay, or to the memory of your PLC. Okay, hard drive is the one which is having higher capacity, memory capacity in terms of terabytes or gigabytes. It's a high capacity memory device. Recording and retrieving data, where we highlighted that memory cartridge, it is a portable one. This memory cartridge, we can remove it and we can insert it into some other PLCs. Okay, it is storing the memory. It is just like your pen drive, okay, wherein you can remove it and you can place it into some other PLCs. The memory element. One machine interface, where touch screens are employed to utilize the same functions as performed by the push buttons or the LEDs, okay, or the some other functionalities of the PLC that is being just displayed on your graphics, that is on your touch screen. Okay, just by operating the touch screen, you'll be able to control the various switches or the various output devices, indicators. Okay, that is one example is your ATM machine. Okay, ATM machine is just like a human machine interface. Okay, just when you press certain icon on the screen, touch screen of your ATM, that is getting operated. Okay, and later on processor memory organization, we know how the memory of the processor is organized. This is the figure which indicates that. This is the where the data is stored in the data files and the programs are stored in the program files. There are 4 files for storing the programs. That is zero file, file number 1, file number 2, and file numbers from 3 to 255. Okay, so these system functions are used to store the functionalities of the system. That is say processor type, IO configurations, the configuration files. What are configuration files are there? All those configuration files of the PLC are stored in the system function file 0. Then the file 1 is reserved. Ladder programs are stored in file 2, and subroutines, just like your functions of C language, functions of the C language. Okay, just like that, there are subroutines which are used to repeatedly execute an instructions or set of instructions. Set of instructions are executed repeatedly, many times, more than one time. They are called as subroutines. So all these subroutines of the ladder program are stored in files number from 3 to 255. Then output, this is regarding your program files. And data files, we have output image file, which is used to store the information of the output device. Input image, which is used to store the indication of the input status of input field device. And status information, which stores the controller operation information, that is the processor or the CPU functionality is being stored in status file 2. Bit file 3 for storing the relay logic, internal relay logic storage, that is stored in file number 3. File number 4 stores the information of the timer, information of the timer file number 4. Counter information is stored in file 6, sorry, file 5. Controller, that is file 6, it stores the information of the registers or sequencers which are used to change the order from left to right storage or from right to left storage of the information. So such registers or instructions which are meant to perform such operations, their data is stored in file number 6. File number 7 is used to store the numerical values or bit information. File number 8, it is not accessible for the user. It is meant for only the PLC purpose. It is reserved. Network communication, file number 9, all the network data. If there is any LAN connection, okay, anything like that, that network data, which is for communicating between one PLC to another PLC, okay, or from communicating from one PLC to many PLCs, like that, that information, network information is stored in file number 9. And all the user defined, okay, that is bit information or user whatever he is feeding the data in the program, okay, all that user information, that is control information, or it may be integer, okay, any data, that all that data is stored in file numbers from 10 to 255. Okay, that's all, students. I hope it was clear to you all, the concepts what I discussed today. Okay, it was a revision. I hope it is much clear to you now, right? Any difficulty here, students? Any difficulty here? Yes, please. Manoj?
So no, sir.
No,
Okay,
sir.
fine. Prasad?
No, sir.
Okay. Ravi? Any
No, sir.
problem, Ravi? Any problem, Ravi?
No, sir.
Okay.
Sir, revision is
Manoj?
helpful, sir.
Okay. Pardon, Manoj?
Revision class was helpful.
Helpful. Okay, fine. Okay, and that is what we require. It should be helpful for our students. That is our main intention. Fine. Manohar?
Sir, sir.
Hampanavar? Was it understood, Manohar? Or is it
Yes, sir. It was helpful,
fine?
sir.
Okay, fine. Okay, good. Okay, then, students, wish you all the best for the test. Do well, right? And the pattern is very much clear. You have gone through the patterns of your that is IA test, other IA test 18 scheme. Pattern is very much clear, and it is also being circulated. Already you have received the message as to the test will be descriptive. Okay, just study well and do the test well. Wish you all the best. Thank you. Ravi, you want to ask anything?
No, sir.
Ravi? Okay.
No, sir.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
So we need to upload in a Google Classroom, no?
Where to upload the
Test paper.
test paper? Okay, I will see that. I will discuss with your HOD, sir. Right?
Okay, sir.
And then I will let you know that. Okay, I will message you all. That
Okay, sir.
point I will make it very much clear to you all. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine.